Ken Whiting with Paddle TV with another unbiased, in-depth gear review. And in this episode, we're taking a good look at the Wilderness Systems Targa 100. Wilderness Systems has been making quality kayaks for a long time. In fact, last year I gave the Pungo a Kayak of the Year award. Now this is the first recreational sit-on-top kayak that Wilderness Systems has put out in quite some time that hasn't been fishing focused. And so I've been excited to see what they'd come up with, because Wilderness Systems traditionally doesn't just kick out boats that follow the same old mold. They try different things. And so that's what we're gonna find out today. Have they tried anything new? How does this thing perform? What's its value like? All that good stuff. But first of all, let's hear what they have to say about it. Wilderness Systems says the Targa 100 is perfect for day trips, and it offers the right balance of comfort, stability, and carefree spirit. I like the sounds of that. The Targa 100 retails for $969 US. It's 10 feet long, it's 32 inches wide, it weighs 57 pounds or 26 kilos, and it has a capacity of 325 pounds or 147 kilos. It has 4 rigid handles, one at each end and one at each side. It's got a sling seat, a removable bow hood, large foot braces, an integrated removable cooler, deck padding for comfort and traction, and stern bungees for stowing extra gear. Well, I gotta be honest with you, a 10-foot sit-on-top kayak is not the type of kayak that I typically go for. I gravitate towards longer and most often sit-inside kayaks, but I like the looks of this thing. And I also love the fact that I get to test this thing on the Current River in Missouri. But before I do that, I have to take a quick second to let you know about the ACA's new online safety course. Now, the great thing about paddling is that it's, generally speaking, a very safe activity, but the problem is when things go wrong, they can go very wrong very quickly. And the small investment of time it takes to do ACA's online course can make such a huge impact in your life and the lives of your loved ones. So it's a free online course. There's a link in the description box down below. It's a fun and free course. Check it out. Now, let's get to the Current River. Splash. Hold his head down. All right. Surfing. Well, that was my first time in the Ozarks, and it totally didn't disappoint. Amazing place, and a great place to test the Targa 100. It allowed me to do more than just a flat water test. It allowed me to test how it was going to work in a river environment with good, solid, class 1 moving current. So let's start with portability. Now, the Targa is 57 pounds. Now, that might sound like a fair bit, but really for a sit-on-top kayak, it's not. It's a little bit more than most sit-inside kayaks, because sit-inside kayaks have less plastic. There's less material. But for a sit-on-top kayak, 57 pounds is a nice weight. at 10 feet long too. That's a very, very manageable length. And this thing's easy to move around. I mean, it's got 4 carrying handles, 2 on each side, 2 on the ends. And so you can carry it tandem with somebody very easily, but you can also carry it suitcase style. Now, it's a heavy suitcase, don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but you can carry it like a suitcase as well because it's only 57 pounds and 10 feet long. As a kayak gets bigger, it quickly becomes a lot more awkward to get around. And so even for roof topping, putting this kayak in on roof racks on almost any vehicle or throwing it into the back of a pickup, you know, it is a very portable hard shell kayak. No, it's not as portable as an inflatable or folding skin on frame kayak, but yeah, portable for hard shell, yes. So now let's talk stability. Sit on top kayaks by nature are designed to be stable. And so if this thing wasn't stable, I'd be highly disappointed. And I wasn't. It's a stable kayak. In fact, it was so stable that I could stand up while paddling down Class 1 current and felt quite comfortable. Now, I didn't feel invincible standing up. I was definitely aware of my surroundings while I was standing, but the fact that I could do that relatively comfortably is a testament to this thing's stability. Now, this thing is 32 inches wide. That's wide, but it's not hugely wide. There's a lot of sit-on-top kayaks out there that have gotten extremely wide to enhance the kayak stability. And they do it, and they may be more stable than this kayak, but it comes at a price. You end up with a kayak that feels like a pig to paddle around. That's not how this kayak felt. And so that leads us right into performance. Now, performance-wise, you can't expect a 10-foot kayak of any nature to be a fast kayak. With that being said, this kayak did better than I was expecting. It does carry some reasonable speed. And I think the big reason for that is it's got that nice slicey V bow that cuts through the water and holds the line quite nicely. But then that transitions into the stern to a catamaran style hull. And what that does is it gives you stability from the catamaran style hull and tracking with that V bow. A good combination of speed and stability. No, I would not call this thing fast, but for a 10-foot kayak, pretty darn good. Now, something else to note with performance is this thing, I took it on Class 1 on the current river, and it did the job just fine. Anything more than that would be a little dicey. And the reason for that is the flat hull on these kayaks, the wide nature of these kayaks, they're designed to be flat. They're not designed to be held on edge. So when you start dealing with real current where you have to edge your kayak, this boat is not going to do that well at all. No wide, flat-hulled kayak is going to do that. And so it was great in Class 1. Class 2 would be really pushing it. It really is a flat water kayak. Now let's talk about one of the most important features for me, comfort. Now, straight up, 6 hours of paddling. Over 6 hours, in fact, is what I spent going down the current river. That's definitely enough time to learn whether a kayak's comfortable or not. Usually a couple of hours is enough. But the fact that I did over 6 hours of paddling and can tell you this was comfortable is a real testament to this thing's comfort. Here's why it was comfortable. This suspension seat, love it. I mean, I love suspension seats in general because they contour to different shaped and sized butts. It just makes sense. If you're sitting on plastic with some foam on top, it's just not going to work for every butt. And actually, it's not going to work for any butt really well. Whereas the suspension seat is great. Now, this is a fixed suspension seat. It's not like most suspension seats, which are removable and have high and low positions that can be moved around. This one is fixed in this kayak, but they fixed it in kind of a middle position. It's not low and it's not high. It's just in a great position so your butt's elevated, so your butt doesn't get wet. It's higher than your heels, and so that's naturally a comfortable position. And on top of that, because it's fixed, you don't have to worry about losing the seat when you transport your kayak around, which I have learned the hard way twice. I don't know why I just admitted that I did that twice. Otherwise, comfort-wise, big wide open deck, so you can sit cross-legged in this thing. You can move around so easily. You can stand up in it. Awesome. Solid foot pegs, help keep your legs in a great position. I mean, yeah, it's just a nice, big, comfortable platform. Now, on the topic of comfort, we should talk about who this kayak is comfortable for. How big can you be and this kayak still be comfortable? Well, the only limiting factor here is actual leg length. Right now, like I'm 6'2", I'm long in the legs, 34-inch inseam or something like that, but I'm long-legged. And I only have one more notch in the foot pegs to go forward in this thing. So there's not a lot of room for a taller person. I would say 6'3" is about as tall as you could be and be comfortable in this kayak. Soon thereafter, you're gonna have your knees up in your face. And so another topic about sizing would be paddle length. Now, the paddle I was using was 230 centimeters long. I would say a paddle anywhere between 230 and 240 centimeters is ideal for a boat of this nature, depending on what you're comfortable with. Now let's talk about features of the Targa 100. Now, this thing's got some stuff to talk about. Let's start with probably the most interesting feature here, which is this integrated removable cooler. I like this thing. I really like this thing. In fact, I love the fact that it's integrated here. If you don't want it, you have a great little storage area with scuppers so that it will drain. But why wouldn't you want this thing with you? You can, in the kitchen, load up your snacks or meals, whatever, beforehand, and then bring this to your kayak. When you're kayaking, you stop for lunch. You just grab this thing and go to where you're going to eat. That's awesome. Is it a great cooler? I don't know. I haven't done that kind of testing with it. I doubt it's as good as a Yeti, but I also know that a Yeti this size costs about half as much as this whole kayak does. So now, other features. Seat, already told you, love it, still love it. Foot braces are great. Padded deck is a nice touch for traction and comfort. That's good. Up front here, you have this removable bow hood. Now, this is a feature that stands out, but I don't totally get it, to be honest. For me, it's kind of space that I'm not sure what to do with. So it's not a reason to buy the kayak, but it's also not a reason not to buy the kayak because I never do anything with this space. This is pretty dead space here for any sit-on-top kayak, unless you're a kayak angler and you need to use that for electronics or what have you. But for recreational kayak, I would love to know if anybody out there has ideas for a recreational sit-on-top kayak, what to use this space spot on a kayak for. I want to know, because it's not easy to reach. It's just not convenient space. Anyway, enough about features. So now let's talk about value. Is this thing worth $969 US? Well, there's lots of kayaks available under $1,000, but there aren't that many kayaks of quality available under $1,000, especially over the past 2 years, as prices have just been rocketing on any recreational equipment. Now, $969 isn't cheap, but in my opinion, it's not expensive for what you're getting here. You're getting a solid kayak. Could be a lifetime kayak, something you have forever, and you're going to enjoy it forever. You're going to be comfortable forever in it. Doesn't mean you're not going to want to change boats as you progress as a paddler, but it is a lifetime style kayak. The question is it the right kayak for you? And so that's what we're going to look at. Lastly is, who is this kayak for? It's for people who want a manageable sized kayak that they can take on day trips. It doesn't have the capacity to do multi-day trips. This is a great kayak for flat water or class 1. It's great kayak for a wide variety of people. This is a kayak that kids can hop on and have a lot of fun, but then the adults can take out and go for a day cruise. Very versatile kayak. I'm sure pay a little bit of a premium to have the integrated cooler here, although it doesn't feel like you pay a big premium for it. But still, if you're going to use this space and get a cooler, then it's a kind of kayak that you want to take on long enough trips that you need a cooler. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Targa 100. I certainly enjoyed testing this kayak on the Current River in Missouri, and you can actually watch that whole testing. It's a Paddle Tales episode, a full paddling adventure on Paddle TV. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already, and stay tuned because we got lots more gear reviews and paddling adventures coming your way.